level of awareness is and so forth. And the clear definitions we make about things, whether, like, for example, a psychic, they say, are you intuitive, a psychic, a clairvoyant? Mm-hmm. Those are all human definitions. A lot of the things we define clearly because we're human, they don't exist so clearly defined out there. They're more like chunks of water in an infinite sea rather than clearly defined objects in space and time. So there's a lot of different dimensions and areas a soul can exist in, depending on all sorts of factors. There's so much out there, and so many different levels, and yet it's all one infinite mind seeing itself in infinite number of ways. That's kind of what I seriously believe.
So when you came back from your near-death experience, were your psychic abilities more predominant?
They got, well, I'll say this. I became so aware in the week before I had this accident of how I read signs, how I see symbolism, which made me aware that everybody has psychic ability and everybody sees symbolism. We just tune it out a lot. After that experience, when I came back, yes, it was not turned up full blast. It was down to a controllable level, thank God. Full blast for 8 days, I couldn't take it anymore. It's too much. But yes, now I control it. But it's certainly more acute than it was before I went. Yes.
All right, so if I understand right, you had this ability 8 days before the accident?
Well, I actually started having psychic ability and giving readings way back in the early 70s.
I see. So here's a question. I don't know if you've been asked this before. So if you're a psychic, how come you didn't know you were going to get into that accident?
Well, interestingly enough, I did see a lot of premonitions about it while it was before I got into it, but I couldn't put all the dots together. I mean, I saw 9/11 way back in 1977, as I wrote in my book. But in Europe in 2001, on a cruise ship, I was performing on a cruise ship when it happened. I saw it on TV. I realized I'd seen those same pictures 30 years ago, but I couldn't put the dots together. So just because you see visions, just because you're psychic, doesn't mean you can always prevent life's curveballs and surprises and enlightening episodes from landing on your lap.
So when somebody sits down with you, Gary, and they ask you to give them a reading, how are you able to connect the dots in such a short period of time and point them in the right direction?
Well, it's a technique.
I see.
I use different techniques. Lithomancy is a technique I use. It's in a nutshell, it's based on 16 stones, Sun through Pluto, and 6 life stones: life, love, luck, commitment, timing, and place. And I drop them into a circle of leather that's just about 15 inches in diameter, just a piece of leather tied in a circle.
Okay.
And I see it as a clock, and I read it as a clock. So when I give a reading, I'm actually looking at the stones, how they point, how they touch, what they mean. And by looking at them, it's almost like I'm looking at a blueprint or a piece of sheet music. I've learned to interpret it. If you don't know anything about blueprints and sheet music and you look at one, it looks like Greek. But when I look at the pattern of stones, immediately I just see what it means. And as I start talking, going through the 3-month period, more and more things come to the surface. Nobody can tell everything.
Right.
And I wanted to give you a short story, Rob. About 8 months ago,
Sure.
I gave a reading to a lady on the radio, live reading. She was interviewing me about my book. So I told her in the 6th week she was going to have a lot of problems around her place and move, but it was going to bring her luck. And she said, we're not going to move. It was 7 weeks later, she called me back. They'd been hit by Sandy. They lost everything.
Oh, no.
And indeed, they're moving. And I felt, kind of intense. And I said, let me ask you this. If I'd have told you it was going to be a hurricane named Sandy, it was going to wipe out you and all your neighbors, and you should sell your house today, on my word, 5-6 weeks before it happened, if I could tell you that exactly what was going to happen, would you have sold your house and moved? And the answer is probably no. So even psychics that predict things can't prevent things from happening sometimes, and we don't get all of it. I didn't see it was Sandy at the time, but I have seen it. I don't know. Maybe if I looked hard enough, maybe if the time was right, that happened then. So yeah, I couldn't prevent her from having a tragedy in her life because I didn't know what it was, and even if I would have known, we would have sold her house.
If you are sitting in front of somebody giving them a reading, what you're telling them is not set in stone. If you tell them something, and let's say, for example, you say, if you turn right, this will happen, and they figure, well, screw you, I'm going to turn left.
That's certainly possible because free will is always, regardless of what I say, the ruling thing. People can make choices. I always tell people, you could move to Mexico tomorrow if you want to. But in most cases, what I'm seeing is the transition in what people are going through and why. And usually I get a lot of people telling me I'm accurate, and I am very accurate. But I don't tell them everything, and I can't tell them everything. And besides that, they have free will. But what I tell people is usually how to empower themselves and how to see life and what their opportunities are. And if they want to better their lives, they usually open up to that rather than move to Mexico. However, I've had people give me readings, and this is a possibility here, so I took action to make it come out a different way. Of course you can do that.
I'm just wondering why anybody would want to move to Mexico.
Well, I'm not sure either right now.
That kind of threw me. I certainly do. I'm just having a good time with you, Gary. What is the most frequent question you get asked when you're doing readings?
Well, actually, most of my customers are women, females, and women are very complex, as we all know. Men are much simpler, and women are most interested in relationships. And that's usually probably the most important thing, even if they don't ask that question. When I do a reading for a woman, her relationships jump up from the surface, and that's always very important. It connects to everything else. Whereas men, it's like you have your relationship and your job and your communication here, and we separate things. So probably the most questions I get are from women about relationships. Even if they don't ask that question, I see it in the reading. Because when I do lithomancy readings, I don't want anybody to tell me anything. All I want to do is, all they have to do is say drop. I drop the stones for them. I don't want them to tell me anything. I like to dive in cold. But yeah, free will is always there. Certainly is.
All right, Gary, you and I have to take our commercial break. Please stand by. Exo Nation, Gary Wimmer is my special guest. And Gary and I will be back on the other side of this news break. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger and Skype, Xzone Radio TV. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. The X Chronicles newspaper for August comes out, I believe, in 10 days, Mac Alexander was telling me. And watch out for the special insert we have. That's all I'm going to say. You're going to be surprised. I'll be back on the other side of this news break with Gary Wimmer, www.garywimmer.com. My name is Rob McConnell, and I would like to tell you about a very special lady that I have the pleasure of knowing, and that's Miss Sylvia Anthony. Sylvia Anthony believes the golden years are a time to gear up and get busy, not relax and take it easy. She has faced many hardships in her 84 years, but they have made her stronger and more determined. As founder and president of Sylvia's Haven, a shelter for women and their children near Boston, Sylvia has helped transform over 1,086 lives in the past 27 years, not only with housing, but also providing direction as to where they can go to develop the earning skills they want and need to live free from difficult domestic situations. Sylvia's Haven is everything to Sylvia Anthony, even calling it her magnificent obsession. Women who qualify for the program at Sylvia's Haven receive assistance via guidance counselors to find the appropriate job opportunity. Women and their children may remain at the housing for up to 2 years. At the end of this time, or sooner, a woman who is successfully employed and has an apartment or home may leave Sylvia's Haven to begin a new and independent life. Now this is where you come in to help make Sylvia's dream into a reality. Sylvia's dream is to have a Sylvia's Haven in every state to help as many women and their children as she can, and to help this dream come true. A crowdfunding site has been established which can be accessed at www.sylviasdream.org. Now that's www.sylviasdream.org. With your financial help and support, Sylvia Anthony will continue to help those in their time of need, not only in the Boston area, but with her dream of having a Sylvia's Haven in every state of the United States. Your help is needed to make Sylvia's dream come true. Please visit and give at www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. And remember, the only difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. We need your help to make Sylvia's dream come true. Visit www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. For the X Zone Radio TV show and the X Chronicles newspaper, I am Rob McConnell.
This is Ken Elliott. When I'm floating around the universe, I always try to tune in to Rob McConnell.
Hi ho there, Timothy Frog on Sesame Street. When I want to find out what's going on with UFOs or ghosts, I listen to the X Zone with Rob McConnell.
This is Les Corrigan from Target Internet Development. You're listening to Rob McConnell on the X Zone Radio Show.
This is John Hogue, Prophecy Scholar, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man song.
He's the man. He's the man.
I don't take no crap from anybody else but you. I wear the pants around here when I finish with your laundry. Cause I'm a guy you don't want to fight. When I say jump, you say yeah right. I'm the man of this house until you get home.
He's the man. He's the man.
What I say goes around here right out the window. And I don't want to hear a lot of whining, so I'll shut up. The sooner you learn who's boss around here, the sooner you can give me my orders, dear. Because I'm head honcho around here, but it's all in my head.
He's the man. He's the man.
And I can have sex anytime that you want. Because I'm a man who has needs, but they're not that important. And don't expect any flowers from me, because if I'm not mistaken, you prefer jewelry. I'm the king of my castle when you're not around.
He's the man. He's the man.
And I'll drink and watch sports whenever I want to get in trouble. And I'll come home when I'm good and ready to sleep on the couch. Because a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and I'm going to do what you tell me to, because I'm top dog around here, but I've been neutered.
He's the man. He's the man. You the man.
And there we go. That goes out to all us guys. All right, stop those dogs from barking, will you? There you go. It's Friday night, guys. Some parts of the United States and Canada, it's Saturday. Some parts of the United States and Canada, it's Friday night, wherever you are. From us to you, have a safe weekend. My guest this hour is Gary Wimmer. And what did you think about that song, Gary?
I thought it was great. I've never heard it, but I thought it was great.
Well, when we come back from our last break, there is another side to that song called the woman song. So because we're I believe in equality, we'll play the woman song later on. All right, Gary, are your stones all charged?
Yeah, they are, as a matter of fact.
All right,
Bob.
what I'm going to tell the audience what we're doing. Exonation, over the commercial break with the news, I asked Gary if he'd give me a reading on air. So he said he was going to charge up his stones, And once they were charged, all I have to do is say, drop them. So let me know when you want me to give you the cue.